We're at the Calypso booth, and I have Viktor Linke from Realmforge, and they announced Dungeons 2 some weeks ago. And yeah, what do you change? Why do you decide to go for a sequel?
Yeah, we got great feedback for the first Dungeons game, but there was some criticism that people just felt it wasn't all about your dungeon, because the gameplay for the first game was just heroes coming into your dungeon, you had to entertain them. So for the sequel we completely ditched that concept, so we made the game from the ground up new, and this time it's all about your dungeon and your creatures. So the player is in full control of his dungeon, he can build his rooms, he can maintain the dungeon, and he can just, have a connection to his creatures.
And but was it the reason that you want to give the players the possibility to have this, or was there other reasons why you decided to go to have a sequel? Because you never made a sequel of your games.
Yeah, it's the first sequel for us, and one of the reasons we had another cool idea, because often these simulation games you just build an army underground and then you do nothing with it. So for this sequel we decided to also have a complete overworld map for each of the dungeons, so you can build your creatures in the dungeon and then send them outside and have them take them on an adventure and basically just conquer the outside world.
So you make the underworld the overworld?
Yeah, basically you just have, if you venture outside, there's basically just this nice and beautiful green fantasy land, and you just eradicate that. You completely destroy that and make it like Mordor-like gloomy dark world. So you basically just conquer the world and make it evil.
Yeah, my favorite moment was with the moment with the unicorn.
Yeah, everybody likes the unicorn. So on the outside we just decided to have those creatures who are just too good to be true. So you want to just kill them, and the unicorn, it looks cute, but it's a fierce enemy and you want to destroy it. And we always also switch out the creatures. Like, for example, you have these cute little bunnies on the overworld, and as soon as you have conquered a sector and it gets turned into this evil world, then you have little critters running around and they look like gremlins, and they're also cute in their own way. So.
And there are other dungeons as well?
There are other dungeons, we call them neutral dungeons, and since the overworld really is a designed world, we don't randomize it, it's really hand-built by the game designers, and there are neutral dungeons where the player can just go into them and find creatures to fight, maybe some treasures are hidden there, so yeah, there's really a lot to discover for the player.
And can I build something in these other dungeons?
No, you can't, but there's actually a multiplayer mode where each player has its own dungeon, so you can venture into the other player's dungeon and maybe destroy it.
But then how does it work when I try to conquer other dungeons? What kind of perspective I play this?
The neat little trick we did is that as soon as you're on the outside, it controls like a real-time strategy game. So as long as you're in your own dungeon, it's a normal simulation, dungeon simulator game, you only have indirect control, but as soon as you go on the outside and in the other player's dungeon, it will control like a real-time strategy game. So it's really cool to see like two different play styles fighting against each other.
Okay. And what kind of creatures you can control?
Yeah, today we just showed the Horde, which has creatures like orcs, goblins, trolls and stuff like that, but there will be also a second race for the player to discover. We haven't announced it yet, but it's also very cool, and so in total I think there will be around 12 creatures for each race, and you can upgrade them, you can give them perks and stuff like that. We really want the players to care for their creatures, and so it will be like 12 creatures for each race.
Okay, and in the dungeon, what do I do with the creatures?
Yeah, you can build several rooms, because this time around all the creatures have different needs the player has to cater to. So they all have, like, they want a steady income, they want to drink beer, and they also have jobs. So you build the rooms basically for the creatures to work in.
I really appreciate it with the beer.
Yeah, since we're Bavarian developers, we couldn't resist the the need for beer.
And when is the Dungeon 2 coming out?
It's coming out in the first quarter of 2015 for PC, Mac, Linux and SteamOS.
Great. I can't wait, especially for the unicorn and the beer.
There will be lots of unicorns.
Okay, thank you. Ha 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 ha!